Early in the morning,
Welcome back to my channel, guys. You already know who it is. It's your boy Cam, Topical Juice, and I have been chomping at the bit to release this video. I'm just gonna get straight into it. First things first, I want to say a massive thank you to all my new subscribers, especially the ones that have come from the colorism video that I did last time. Honestly, I've gained quite a few subscribers from that. I'm nearly at 600 now. Thank you so much for joining the family. Thank you so much for joining my community. Thank you for engaging with me. Like I appreciate every single person that joins my channel, and I just want to let's just say that, yeah, I appreciate everyone so far anyway. So also I want to give a special shout out to the Little Black Book 91. I recently discovered his YouTube channel myself the other day. He's done a video on the history and the psychology of colorism. The video what I'm about to do right now, he's also done a video on that. I couldn't agree more with what this guy had to say. Big love to him. He actually commented on my last video and showed love, so thank you. I'm going to take a couple snippets from his video and analyze what he was saying and elaborate on what he was saying with my own opinions as well. But please check out his video, it's in the description. If you've got a minute, please check it out. Incredibly powerful, but I'm going to try my best to articulate the message in this video anyway. So, two disclaimers. Disclaimers to my black people, disclaimers to my brothers and sisters. Especially from my last video, I did come across quite a few ignorant black people who weren't quite aware of the history that we'd been through and things like that, and were quite quick to cancel. Let me tell you very quickly, you're cancelling your own kind. As the Little Black Book said, are you really cancelling these people because you're impacted by what they tweeted? Or are you cancelling them for a sense of power and to bring them down to your level? Remember, these are our people. This is not a white person being racist. This is our people. In my opinion, let's not be so quick to cancel and let's educate first, okay? Disclaimer number 2 to the white people in the audience. For you to understand what I'm trying to say and grasp the concept of what I'm going to educate you on, you first have to understand your privilege in society. If you don't understand that white people have a privilege in society, you're not going to understand. I have a privilege being a light-skinned male. I have a privilege being a male. You understand? A dark-skinned man has a privilege over a dark-skinned woman, which I'm going to talk over. So there's social hierarchies here. There's rankings. It shouldn't be like that. In reality, everyone's equal. But unfortunately, in the reality of the world, everyone is not equal. There is a social hierarchy. White people sit on the top of society. It's that simple. If you can understand that simple concept, you will understand the rest of the video. That's all I ask. That's literally all I ask. And I don't just mean all white people. I'm not slandering white people. I'm not cussing anyone. This is purely educational. So firstly, I'm going to define colorism. I'm going to look back at the history, and I'm going to talk about how the history directly impacts the black psyche. And that explains how black men were able to tweet the way they were tweeting XYZ. Okay, so stay tuned. This video is very, very important. I can't wait for you to just sit here and watch this one. I'm serious. So firstly, what is the definition of colorism? I'm going to let the Little Black Book define colorism.
Colorism is a prejudice and a discrimination based on skin color emanating from a person or a group of the same race. So colorism is a child, right, being birthed from racism.
Where does colorism come from? As he also correctly suggests in the video, colorism is the birth child of racism, okay? To understand colorism, you have to understand racism. The hatred of oneself, the hatred of one's color, features, things like that. It stems from racism. I did a history degree, right? I did a history degree. I love history. I think history is one of the most important things in this life, but not many people appreciate it. I did my dissertation was on the Black Power movement, British identity in the UK. You understand? This is my passion. So I've got credibility when it comes to this. I know what I'm talking about. What you have to understand about history and society is that we are not born in a vacuum. We weren't born in 95, 2020, whatever, and society was just plopped there and we just built it up from scratch every single time we're born. No, we are directly impacted and we are a direct consequence of where we have come from, okay? History is so important. Where we have come from defines where we are and, even better, where we're going. You understand? It's incredibly important, history is. We're not born in a vacuum. So, if colorism is bred from racism and we need to look at history, where is the start of racism? Where's one of the biggest examples of racism? Slavery. Slavery impacts where we are today, and white people growing up never wanted to accept that. This is in my experience. Not all white people, just people, certain people in my experience, okay? Like, if I would talk about slavery growing up, people, that was 300 years ago. Like, what? That's not our fault. Like, we didn't do that, XYZ. I agree. It's not your fault. You are not to blame for slavery. Your ancestors were fine, no problem. I'm not blaming you, no worries. But don't tell me it doesn't matter, because it does. 300 years ago is yesterday. That's baby. 300 years ago is baby terms. That is literally not far. That's not long ago. If you don't think that impacts where we are today, I can't wait to open your mind then. All I need is one example. Let's take it back to slavery times. You've got slaves being whipped, murdered, tortured, worked into the ground. You're getting called beasts. You are bottom of the food chain, and you've got white people that sit on the top of that food chain. They're the ones whipping. You understand? Kids watching this stuff, you know, this is shaping a kid's perspective of society, rankings, race, all this stuff. But then the same slave owner now rapes that said beast, okay, and breeds with that beast, creating a mixed race baby. So now you've got a group of mixed race kids from, well, actually, first things first, what must that do to that kid, by the way? What must that do to the further generations that you're teaching these lot that they're beasts and below you, but yet you're sleeping with them and breeding with them? That's a different topic entirely. Now you've got a generation of mixed race kids, or not a generation. You've got a little select group of people, right? This is where the idea of hierarchy and colorism stems from, because that white slave owner doesn't want to get rid of that kid, even though it's black or whatever. Doesn't want to get rid of that kid because it's part him. And at least that kid, the kid that looks like me, at least he's closer, or she is closer to the white male, is closer to them than that beast is. You understand? So then you've got a bit of privilege forming. The brown paper bag test. You've got slaves in front of you, human beings in front of you, and people hold up a brown paper bag. You're lighter than this bag. Go on, you can work in the house. You're a house N-word. You can work in the house. You're a bit pretty to look at. Thinner hair. Go on, you can go in the house. Oh, you're darker than this brown paper bag. You're outside. You're in the cotton fields. You can't get a job. It's not just. This is the most important thing. It's not just slavery. It's not just about picking cotton. If you were lighter skinned, you had more opportunities. It was about jobs. It was about favoritism. Fast forward to 2010, 2013, when you've got this whole trend of white people fetishizing mixed race kids, black people fetishizing mixed race people. Oh, he's light skinned, oh, he's light skinned. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that's random? Do you think that's just history repeating itself on a whim? No, that is history. That is where we've come from, and you're seeing that now. You're seeing what that looks like now. This is literally the way the world works. Everything that was going on back then, the mentality, the psyche, the abuse, the this, the that, the messages that they're delivering to the white people, to the black people, whatever. What, you think they just disappeared when everyone died? No, they are now in America, in the UK. The UK is involved in slavery as well, by the way. Don't get that twisted, you know? So like, it all stems from this. How does all this impact the black male psyche? Black people deal with racism on a daily basis, okay? We internalize our racial our experiences and our traumas in different ways though. Black men and black women, we internalize it differently. That's key, because black women are kind of like bottom of that hierarchy type thing, but we both internalize it differently. So you've got black men who deal with racism every single day. For the last 25 years I have, for example, when I say racism, I don't just mean getting called the N-word here and getting called this, getting called that. No, I don't just mean that. I mean the microaggressions at work. I mean the ignorant comments at school. I mean the job opportunities that I'm lacking and not getting because of the skin color, and the opportunities that I have in life. Do you understand? The things people say to me, the way people deal with me versus the way black men internalize this. And the psychology behind it, which the Little Black Book perfectly explains, is that we lash out at people below us in the food chain, in the hierarchy. Who's below black men in the hierarchy? Black women, okay? This literally explains why we can tweet wild things, knowing that we're gonna get retweets for it, knowing that it's gonna get jokes, knowing that it's gonna be funny, but knowing there's gonna be no retribution. This is so key, and the Little Black Book articulates this so amazingly. The most important thing is there's no retribution. All those tweets that you saw directed at dark-skinned women, you wouldn't dare do that to white women. That just wouldn't happen, because there'd be retribution. We live in a white world. We live in a white society. Do you understand? You can't tweet like that because there'll be repercussions, job opportunities, things like that. Because in society, if white people control a lot of parts of society, that impacts the opportunities that we have. But you can tweet that way about dark-skinned women because one, it's acceptable to talk like that. But two, you know there's going to be no repercussions. It's why it can appear sometimes that dark-skinned men might not rate dark-skinned women. And we don't support our dark-skinned women the way dark-skinned women support us. You get me? It's this idea of self-hatred, not feeling worthy, internalizing the pain that we suffer from society. I'm not just looking for sympathy here. It's not like a cry of sympathy vote. This is the realities of life. I can't speak for Asian people. I can't speak for Muslims. I can only imagine what it must be like being an Indian, for example, a Muslim, and getting called a terrorist just because you're Muslim and you're from India. I don't understand what that feels like. But I can explain what the black experience feels like. I can't even explain what the dark skin experience feels like, but I can explain the kind of black narrative. I've done a lot of history, I've done a lot of education, and my experience. You understand?
But someone can't get angry at the person who's actually inflicted the pain. Because if they do, for instance, let's say your boss cusses you, yeah? Your boss says, listen, stop being an absolute dickhead and idiot. And you get angry about it. Now you know you can't retaliate, he's your boss, right? So what you do, instead of actually going at your boss, you then, when you get home, you launch your frustrations onto your partner. Why? Because you know the retribution that's coming back is different from the retribution of the job. The job will get you fired. No money, no income, that's a greater risk. But your partner should soak it up.
To me, that is the perfect analogy. You lash out at the ones closest to you because you know the repercussions are going to be different. Looking at the history and things like that, it also explains why certain black men, for example, might prefer light-skinned women, might prefer white women, rather than their own. A lot of the time it does come down to this idea of self-hate and experience though. Because experience in life shapes people's opinions. I.e., when you've got women, black women, who are also internalizing their own traumas, being bottom of the food chain, being abused not by society, not just from society, from white society and other society, but also our own kings, our own black men, they're dealing with their problems. They're not being listened to. They're gonna appear angry. And this is where the stereotypes come from. So you've got black men dealing with this black woman. They're seeing kind of like certain traits that a black woman has, not understanding it's from societal pressures and things like that. And they'll have one good experience with a white person, a white lady, a white female, for example. And that could shape their experience. That could shape their preference. Because they had, this white woman was more secure in herself, because obviously society, a white woman is definitely higher in the food chain than a black man, for example, or a black woman. They're more secure, their experiences are different, so they're less kind of angry, as we say, the stereotype, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, that could then impact their preference. But this idea of preference is I'm very suspicious when people have a preference. Some people can have a preference, like, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you can be attracted to a certain race. Some people just can have a preference. I feel you. But I always believe there's something more. Ask why. The same way I ask the white people. Say for example, you're white and you're born in a certain part of the UK where there's no black people, or you're born in a certain part of Ireland or Wales. I know there's not that many black people in Wales, for example. Or wherever the hell you're from. If both of your parents are white and you're not really around black people that much, and you're not really around black culture, as in, you might have seen a black person at school. That's not what I'm talking about. Or a black friend. I literally mean around black culture. Both your parents are white. You're white. So why is it that you're attracted to black people then? Because logically and psychologically, there's no real reason for you to be when someone's attracted to you, someone different to you. So I ask the same question to black people. But if we're talking history as well, obviously the white white woman was the oppressor historically. And I'm not saying all white people. I'm not saying white people are now oppressors. I ain't saying that. I'm literally saying historically that's true. So why would a black male prefer to go to this person or that person? Nah, to me it doesn't just work out. There is a bit more of an underlying factor there, in my opinion. There's always a why. There's always a why. You can't just be if both your mum and dad are black, right, black, and you experience the world in this certain way, and then your preference is a white woman, or your preference is a light-skinned woman, or whatever, because it's closer to white, whatever. To me, that doesn't work. That doesn't add up. There is some sort of trauma internalized there that has not been spoken about in some way. That's my opinion. And in terms of the whole preference thing, that's my opinion on the whole. I don't really understand that. You can get dark-skinned women who also internalize pain, and that's why you've got people like all the YouTubers that have been found out with their colorism tweets. It's not just black men, it's black women as well, and they're lashing out of their own kind. But the majority of the time it's men. it's the men that are calling women hoes. It's the men that are calling women bitches. Because the psychology behind, when you call someone bitches and things like that, what are you doing to them? You are dehumanizing them. You take the human aspects away from them. This is basic psychology, it's how it works. I'm really glad that this topic has come to light because people have really needed to talk about this for the longest. And this, I have been itching for years to talk about this. For as long as I've been educating myself on racism and systemic racism, things like that, I've been itching to talk about this because, and I'm gonna end on this, because for the longest time, people believe that you can be racist to white people. Now, before people jump down my throats at this, the reason why you cannot be racist to white people, and the reason why I've wanted to educate people on this for the longest time, is because racism is systemic. Okay, it's historic. It's interwoven in society. Okay, and racism is supported by history. It's supported by the system that has been built. You can be prejudiced to white people. You can be a black man and say, oh, I never want my daughter to marry a white man. I never want my son to marry a white woman. Oh, white women are this. You can be prejudiced to white people, yes. Of course you can. Anyone can be prejudiced to anyone, but you cannot be racist. The system isn't designed to support racism towards white people. Why do you think people can get called a honky and not really feel a type of way about it? Like, oh, who the hell says honky, honky? That's not offensive. No one gets, if you're white, really and truly, do you really, be real, do you really get offended when someone calls you that? No. But when you call a black man the N-word, there's more vim there. There's a lot more history supporting that. There's a lot more oppression supporting that. White people never got oppressed. So racism doesn't exist for white people, which is why these videos, I'm so grateful I can get these videos out to educate people. Again, I'm not claiming I'm not claiming white people are the devil and this, that and the other. I'm not. It's just my dream. It's my dream for people to finally open their minds enough to understand that the white experience isn't the only experience. There's very real and sad and harsh experiences out there that other people deal with in a world built by white people in our world, do you understand? And that hurts a lot of our psychology. And until you educate yourself, and until I educated myself, I would have been victim to this society. But no, not anymore. So anyway, I hope I haven't offended anyone. I'm literally just trying to educate people here. I really hope I've come across humble and I'm come across with humility and stuff like that, because I'm not trying to target anyone. I just really want to educate people. And if me releasing a video on my channel with 580 subscribers is me doing that, then that's me doing that. Please hit the subscribe button if you're new. Thank you for sitting through that. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.